verses 1 through 9, actually 1 through 15. Now, I want my teenagers that are here, don't get concerned that you saw the cap out at 12, amen, for Children's Church. We're working on some things for you too, amen? You can only do so many things at one time. But I want you to know you have not been forgotten. Not at all. John chapter 5, beginning at verse 1, sometime later, Jesus went up to Jerusalem for the feast of the Jews. Now, there was in Jerusalem near the sheep gate, note the sheep gate, a pool, which in Aramaic is called Bethesda, and which is surrounded by 5 colored colonnades. Here a great number of disabled people used to lie, the blind, the lame, the paralyzed. One who was there had been an invalid for 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there and learned that he had been in this condition for a long time, he asked him, "Do you want to get well?" "Sir," the invalid replied, "I have no one to help me into the pool. When the water is stirred while I am trying to get in, someone else goes down ahead of me." Then Jesus said to him, "Get up, pick up your mat and walk." At once the man was cured. He picked up his mat and walked. The day on which this took place was a Sabbath, and so the Jews said to the man who had been healed, "It is the Sabbath. The law forbids you to carry your mat." But he replied, "The man who made me well said to me, 'Pick up your mat and walk.'" So they asked him, "Who is this fellow who told you to pick it up and walk?" The man who was healed had no idea who it was, for Jesus had slipped away from the crowd that was there. Later, Jesus found him at the temple and said to him, "See, you are well again. Stop sinning, or something worse may happen to you." The man went away and told the Jews that it was Jesus who had made him well. The Lord has blessed his word. For the next few moments, friends, I will share with you from the subject, a question of conscience. A question of conscience. The beloved disciple invites us into a story, into a setting, where we get to see Jesus doing often what it is that Jesus does. If you see this, Jesus is fulfilling his role and fulfilling his responsibilities of being a Jew, for he has come to Jerusalem for the feast. Now, which feast is this? More than likely the Feast of Pentecost. We know that there were 3 times that the Jewish men were supposed to go to Jerusalem. 1 for the Passover, 2 for Pentecost, and 3 for the Feast of Tabernacles. Well, it just so happens that Jesus continued to do what it is that Jesus does, and he found himself walking, and he found himself in one of the most dirty and difficult places of life. See, that's very important, my friends, that we remember that Jesus did not always stay on the periphery, where things were safe and things were easy. You know, Jesus often sought out those who found themselves in the worst spaces. For you see, the beloved disciple John lets us know very clearly that he found himself at the sheep gate. Now, it doesn't take a scientist to realize what happens when you have a number of sheep and a number of lambs. All of my animal owners who have animals besides fish, amen? But even if you have fish, there is something that you must do. You must clean out the tank. If you have a dog, you must take them outside, and you get that little special plastic bag so you can pick up after the dog, because there are some things that happen that animals must do. If you have a cat, you have a litter box. If you have any type of animal, you must realize there is something to clean up. Jesus finds himself at the sheep gate. For there are sheep and there are lambs, and you in your sanctified imaginations can just imagine how much wool, how much dirt, how much feces, how much waste, what was in the sheep gate. And it was there, my friends, that the beloved disciple tells us that Jesus was walking one day. See, there's so many of us, some of our friends, or maybe people we know, we don't even want to walk in our own neighborhoods. We'll drive 10 minutes just so we can get out the car and walk around. But Jesus, as he is on his way to Jerusalem, is walking where there is dirt all around him. And realize this, he is walking there with dirt, and he sees that there are those that are in need. Amen. How many of us want to do well to those that are in need, but we want to do it on our own terms? Amen. How How many of us see something on television and we say to ourselves, I think I will bless that person that is in need, but only if they can come and see me, only if they can make it to a point that's neutral for both of us. But many of us don't want to go to the difficult spaces. And you see what it said, there were those that were blind, those that were lame, those that were paralyzed. And it doesn't make too much sense that you see Jesus would see this man who's had a condition for 38 years. And then ask a question that doesn't seem to make sense on the surface of, do you want to be made well? See, when you begin to ask questions, depending on who you are talking to, you will be met with either disdain or happiness. Because there are some people who ask questions all of the time. You know anyone like that? You can just talk about the sun is rising in the sky. Well, why is it in the sky? How long will it be in the sky? Will it change colors today? When do you think the moon will show up? There are those that always want to ask questions, but some of our questions are so trivial, they're simply a waste of time. Amen. Sometimes we have to ask questions of conscience. This idea that says this inner feeling of right versus wrong, this guide to rightness in one's behavior, this question to interrogate whether we are going to get the information that we need. When we saw what happened in Paris on yesterday, there are many who will do many different things to show their support, and I am not going to be vindictive or going to say to them that you should not do something, but we have to begin asking questions of conscience, questions that matter. What will we do in this time that we live in? Will we just sit on our hands, or will we make sure that we pray? What will we do? Yes. In this Christmas season, will we go get the full-size shampoo or not? Amen. This question of conscience, this question of right versus wrong, this question that calls us to say, what will we do? And more importantly, friends, who will we be? Amen. Yes. What will the annals of history speak about us? For you see, John has shown us that Jesus began to ask questions of conscience. Questions that asked the man who said to the man, what will you do? For you see right here, look at the setting. More than likely, this site of Bethesda, and scholars can't even agree on the spelling. You'll see many with an S and some with a Z, and you'll see that they have 5 pools. And in history, there is St. Anne's Monastery, which there's 2 twin pools that are surrounded by 4 porches, and right down the middle, you have another pool, and the situation was that here at the pool, that the lame and the sick and the blind, that when the water was troubled by the angel, if they got in first, they could be made well. Now, was that true? Do we know? For the situation that finds these pools in front of the temple, the priest could not have been happy with the situation, yet there was the belief that says, if I can just get in the pool. And you know some folks just like this. They say so many different things. If I can just get one more hit, if I can just get one more drink, if I can just stay out at the party one more minute longer. I've always wondered, even when I used to go to the party, you go to the party and see, I kept dancing simple, you move side to side. Don't do too much work. But I never really wanted to stay to the end, because then right around 1 o'clock, you get tired, amen? Enough is enough. Woo. But there's some folks I know that they want to stay to the last song every time, amen? I mean, they never want to leave, and it's like, if I can make it just to the last song, everything will be all right. It's this situation that we see here, that the man had been paralyzed 38 years. Now, you might be tempted to be hard on the man. For you see, when Jesus says, do you want to be made well? The man does not say yes or no. He begins giving excuses. Don't you know that? Jesus says, do you want to be made well? The man says, well, what had happened was, every time the the water gets troubled, someone else gets in front of me. Now you might think to yourself, come on, man. If you knew the water was going to be troubled every day, wouldn't you sit right to the side and when it troubles, you jump all in? Come on, man. Come up with a better reality than just saying someone got in front of me. 38 years. But the reality of it is, friends, even when we begin to think about those items and those situations of life, you cannot mistake that sometimes people resign themselves to the spaces of their lives. The woman that resigns herself to staying in an abusive marriage because she says to herself, I can't leave now. I can't go now. Now, just so that there's no one that gets angry with me at the end of this that says, well, Pastor said, leave your husband. I believe this very clearly, and let me be very clear. No one has caused you to stay in a space where someone is beating on you. Amen? Amen. Now, if there's an issue with that, then please come see me. I'm here Monday through Thursday, 9 to 4. I'd love to talk to you, to hear your theology that says she should stay while he gives her a right cross. Please help me. Help me see where God is in that space. Please. But nevertheless, there are those who resign themselves to the situations of their lives, and they say this, well, this is just the way it is. Nothing will get better. You see a generation of young people who find themselves in different spaces, making different decisions because they resign themselves to say this is all there is. So if I don't do this, then what will I do? There are those who resign themselves to say, well, this is my position in life. I won't dare to step out and better myself, to go to school or better myself, to get a promotion or better myself, to do different things. This is just the way it is. Yes. But God is saying to us today, will you ask yourself a question of conscience? Because Jesus didn't ask, why are the reasons that you've been lame for 38 years? Jesus said, do you want to be made well? Yeah. He didn't say, tell me all the reasons of who did you wrong. All right. He didn't say, tell me all the disappointments of your life. He said, I am able to do something about your condition. Right. So the question is, do you want to be made well? Right. Some folks want to be in the situation they're in. So you don't need to ask them all the time about, do you want something different? They made the choice. But Jesus is saying, do you want to be made well? All right. Yes. Yes, my Lord. See, our religion has to get to a point. Our religion has to get to a point where we are able to step out on faith with a God who is able to do the impossible. Yes. See, religion and faith don't go hand in hand. Don't make the mistake. I told myself I was in Los Angeles last week, and I was listening to some preachers, and Reverend Dr. Marvin McMichael and Reverend Dr. down in Atlanta, the church in Warnock, Raphael Warnock. So I see them, and I see that they get to preaching, and they always keep their tie nice and straight. And I told myself I'm going to try to work on that. Amen. But see, after a while, I get to going, I get a little messy, amen. Because the reality of it is, I'm so into what we're talking about, amen. That it takes everything inside of me to keep this jacket on, but I won't keep it on today. But our religion and faith do not go hand in hand. That is why the old saints from down in the deep country used to ask the question, do you got good religion? See, there isn't this understanding that says religion and faith are inevitable. No, the question from those that came out of slavery and those that were in the space of sharecropping, they asked you the question of conscience, do you got good religion? Because you could very well have some bad religion. You could have a religion that says Jesus can't do anything about my situation, so why is he asking me the question? But Jesus is saying, I'm asking you the question because I can do something. Do you got good religion? And what was his answer? Certainly, Lord. Certainly, Lord. Do you treat everybody right? Certainly, Lord. See, folks have made it to some places in life and they begin to say to themselves, I don't need that theology. theology that came out of the sharecropper, but it's good theology. A theology that lets you know that don't be in a space of having some bad religion. Where you get to stuttering and making excuses when Jesus is at your doorstep ready to change your life. Standing right in front of you, ready to do something that you don't even know he can do, and you talking about what happened. Verse 7, here in our text. Sir, I have no one to help me into the pool when the water is stirred. When I am trying to get in, someone else goes down ahead of me. Circle that word trying. Everyone say that. I'm trying. Let's try it one more time. Everyone say trying. It's very important. Very, very important, because what I shared with you earlier was that the tendency could be to be so hard on this man for sitting there for 38 years without giving him the proper due for trying.
All right.
There's something to be said for trying. There's something to be said for giving an effort. You may not be able to get here at 10:10, but you're trying. That's why you got here at 10:30. Amen. There's something to be said for it. Amen. There is something to be said for that.
Amen.
For those that are trying to cook. They can't cook quite that well, but they're trying. There's something to be said for trying. And even as we engage in the spiritual disciplines of life and you find yourself feeling wiped out and tired, I've been reading the Bible for 8 minutes. Oh. You're trying. And there's something to be said for trying. Amen. What I'm certain of is this. If you never try, then you'll never receive the benefit of it. Because ask yourself the question, what if the man had quit trying and wasn't at the pool the day Jesus came by? What if he said, I'm just going to go home and have someone carry me there because I'm sick of missing out on the water being troubled by the angel? But he's trying. There's something to be said for that, saints.
Yes.
Don't get down on yourself or feel so bad when you say, I haven't accomplished all that I want to accomplish. I say to you as your brother, your friend, and your pastor, keep on trying.
Yes. Yes.
The difficulty is when we give in and resign ourselves to the situation. Well, here we see a situation as the man recounts his trying and trying to change his life, and he's trying to get up. He's trying to be made well. Then Jesus says to him, notice how Jesus is not condemning the man. Notice how he doesn't say so many things to him. Notice he doesn't say, man up. You know how folks like to say that, man up and get in the pool, amen. But Jesus just says, no, what I want you to do is I want you to get up. Notice how Jesus speaks in affirmative language of get up. And here's what I want you to do when you get up. I want you to pick up your mat and walk. See, the situation here is first we have to say to ourselves, when we have a desire and it meets the power of Jesus, things can change. Because the power is always available. Jesus commanded the man to attempt the impossible. Notice that, to attempt the impossible. And he's saying to him, I want you to get up. He ain't walked in 38 years. Jesus might be calling you right now. He's saying to you right now, I want you to get up. I want you to change some things. I want you to go some places. I want you to forgive some things. I want you to put some things aside. I want you to go back to the church. I want you to restore the relationship. And you are saying, but it's been 38 years. And Jesus is saying, but I got the power. Oh, he's attempting you to do the impossible, friends. But when he tells you to do the impossible, Sister Arlene, the good thing is he is good for what he has promised. If he tells you to do it, he will see you through it. Can you say amen? Jesus going to these dirty places. Going to these places where folks are sick. People don't want to be around sick people too long, amen. They say, I've been here long enough. But Jesus found his way to the people. And then he found his way to the man who was in the condition. Then he asked him the question of conscience of what do you want to do? And right at that moment, he says, get up. Get up and walk. At once, the man was cured. He picked up the mat and he walked. What I really want you to see goes back to the sheep gate. See, if you realize who made the first sheep gate, well, it was a high priest. His name was Elisha. And he was the first high priest, and you'll see it in Numbers where he established the first sheep gate. For you see in the Old Testament, Sister Laura, when you brought the sheep to the temple because you were about to make sacrifice to God for the forgiveness of sins to the people. But here in the text, we see the real high priest who is walking through the sheep gate, and the scriptures say that he is the lamb that was without blemish. So you see him walking through the sheep gate. And see, when you took the sheep in the Old Testament, you made it to the temple, you sacrificed them for all of the people. My Bible tells me, Sister Ruth, that there was someone who was able to do what nobody else could do. His name was Jesus, and he came through the sheep gate, and he came to the cross. And while he was on the cross, he stretched them out and put them down. The blood and the water came out, my brothers and sisters. Right at that moment, that sacrifice was for you and for I. He went to the sheep gate. He went to the dirty places. He came to the low down, dirty shame. And now he came to get you and scoop you up. Because once my load was heavy, and now my burden is light. See, once my load was heavy, but now I can walk. I can walk. See, so nice. Walk nice. See that? See that? See, he's asking you a question of conscience right now.
All right. That's all right.
Who do you want to be?
Yes, my Lord.
The question isn't who have you been.
All right.
The question isn't what have you been into.
All right. That's all right.
I don't care if it's been 5 years, 10 years, 40 years. It could be 38 like the man in the book.
Yes.
But Jesus is asking you the question right now, do you want to be made well?
Yes.
I'm so glad when he asked me the question, Sister Genevieve, I was able to say yes. And he said, well, I said, how are you going to do it, Lord? He said, leave that up to me. And my ways are not your ways. And my thoughts are not your thoughts. See, he can do exceedingly, abundantly, more than you can even ask or think. So he says, do you want to be made well?
Thank you, Lord.
Glory to his name.
Oh, I'm sorry, Brother Eric. I messed up without the microphone. See, God bless you. Eric's giving me my signals. He's saying, where's the microphone? I said, I don't have a microphone. But see, that's all right. Because see, Jesus didn't have a microphone when he told the man, get up. He didn't have a microphone when he said, take up your mat and walk.
Yes. Yes.
That's all right.
Yes.
He says the same thing to us today.
Yes.
Do you want to be made well?
Yes.
All right now.
Yes.
You wondering, trying to figure out how to do it by yourself, just leave it alone.
Yes.
You end up be sitting there 38 years, still trying to figure it out.
All right.
But when Jesus comes by,
Yes.
he has the power to do something about it.
Yes.
See, I know you got to go. See, we're early now, see, but that's all right, because see, I was off last week, amen? So since I was off last week, I got some makeup time, amen? See, the situation could be, you know somebody that always wants to ask you questions about your business as if they can do something about it. So, you need some money? They're going to be like, you need some money? And then they're not going to give you any money. They just want to know if you need some money. They just nosy for the sake of being nosy. But see, when Jesus asks you a question, you can do something about it. I kept my jacket on, sweating up a storm. Lord have mercy. Lord, that's all right. That's all right. The question of conscience, ask yourself, and Jesus is asking you today, what will we do? Who will we be? What will we do? The type of Christians they will speak about us in the annals of history.
Yes.
I'm a young man, but I think about that often. I think about what will they say about me?
Yes.
What will my children remember about me
Yes.
when this is all done?
Yes.
That drives me every day.
Yes.
That gets me
going.
Yes. Yes.
Because when it's all written, what will they say about you? What will they say about me? If you've never received Jesus Christ, I invite you to come. Jesus is asking you a question right now. Asking you a question right now. Do you want to spend eternity with me? Or do you want to spend eternity separated from me? It's a question of conscience, of right versus wrong. If you want to be a member of a good church, see, let me be very clear about this. You know, because everybody talks about being good, right? The scriptures are very clear. None is good but the Father. So if you're in the Father, then you're good. If you're outside of the Father, I can't speak to it. But I know this church is good because we're in the Father. Amen. See, the Father, He called us, and Jesus has blessed us, and the Spirit is able and present. And so if you want to be a member of a good church, it's a good place to be. You want someone to pray with you. We still are crazy enough to believe that what God said He can do. He said He can break the shackles. He said He can heal the body. He said He can make a way when it doesn't seem as if there is a way. I invite you to meet this Jesus.